With Tilman Fertitta, he's the chairman and CEO of Landry's, a company that owns about 600 restaurants around the world. He owns hotels, casinos, 40 states in all. 240 locations have reopened as well as the Golden Nugget Casino in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Tilman, welcome. Good to have you with us. I'm going to offer you some of my wife's delicious banana bread. Of course, we have that here on the menu for Power Lunch. So at any rate, next time when you come by. So you reopened 240 of 600. Earlier this year, you had to lay off about 45,000 of your employees. How many of the employees have you brought back?
We've brought back right now about 15,000. And, you know, it's interesting in looking at the data that y'all just showed on TV. But when you go to full service restaurants, which like I operate, we're still operating with the 240 that are open at close to negative 60%. So it's great to be open. It's great to bring some employees back to work, but we're far from profitable. So right now we're just churning dollars and you know, hoping that it gets better. And it seems to be tweaking up a little bit every week so far, but we've got a whole long way to go before we can bring all employees back but become a profitable business.
And so you're operating at a loss, a margin of negative 60%, because I assume in the open locations you are social distancing and doing lots of crowd control. Tell me what it's like in those locations, which are in, I assume, places like Texas, Tennessee, some of the states that have reopened more aggressively.
Right. It's not just a social distancing. Believe it or not, that hasn't been as big an issue as is that 15 to 20% of America is unemployed, 15 to 20% is scared of losing their job or holding on to their money, and 15 to 20% are just damn scared of going out in public yet. So believe it or not, opening up at 25%, and now we're going to 50% in Texas this Friday, I don't think it's going to have a huge impact on business. My operators are telling me that we're really not turning away the business at this point. It's just the business isn't there.
Yeah, for those reasons that you just cited, which is fear of job loss, fear of going out, and some people who have lost their jobs, obviously they're not going to a sit-down restaurant. You met yesterday at the White House with the President, Secretary Mnuchin. One of the topics on the table was the PPP program, which had been intended basically for smaller businesses. And you made the case that, as I read, that perhaps in some future format, a PPP-like program ought to be available to larger companies, larger chains like yours. How was that received by Secretary Mnuchin and the President?
Well, I think they understand it totally, and what happened is that the White House and Mnuchin were so smart at what they did. They said, we've got to have a vehicle to get the money to the people. So let's use the SBA and then get those banks to certify it. And it's nothing but a mechanism to get money to employees instead of the unemployment line. But what happened was this narrative of, oh, big companies taking it from little companies. But there's enough money there for everybody. And there's so many companies that got it. First off, only 9% of the restaurants are who have gotten it so far. It's construction companies, it's law firms, it's everybody out there. But the public companies caught all the grief because they had to have public filings. I don't have to file anything publicly. I'm a private company, but I still at the same time wanted the little companies to get it first because I knew that I had enough liquidity to go for a while. But then it gets to the fact is, why are my employees, I would love to bring them all back on May 1st and put them all to work instead of only that portion. And because you work for Landry's and you work for Tilman Fertitta, you don't get to come back to work. That's really unfair because I'm not getting the money. The people at the corporate office aren't getting the money. It is strictly for Landry's employees of all of our different concepts. And my people deserve to be treated just as good as everybody else.
I hear your point there, but as I understood it, the initial PPP was partly targeted to those small businesses because they did not have the kind of access to credit that you, as a large chain operator of many chains, would have. And indeed, you took reportedly a $300 million line of credit, which was available to you, may not go the full distance for you, but you had some access to credit that those smaller businesses wouldn't. But I take your point that your workers are just as valuable to you and to the economy as anybody else's.
That's a good point, Tyler, but the other side of it is that $300 million that I borrowed just keeps me going further. But my payroll is $150 million a month, and which is $1.5 billion a year. And the point is that, so now we're going to evaluate every company and who can get credit. Well, I had a Houston restaurateur in my office this week who has 4 restaurants, and he has a multimillionaire as his partner that's not the face of the business, okay? And so, but everybody took it, and just because you have a whole high-profile owner or you're a public company, our employees shouldn't be treated any differently. It's all for the employees, and that's all that matters. And what's the difference if the government money is coming from the PPP or something like it, or if it's coming from the Texas unemployment or any state's unemployment? Government money is government money, but let us put them back to work. They don't want to sit at home. Put them back to work.
Tilman, it's Kelly here back in the studio, and I have kind of a related question because I was listening to Governor Cuomo this morning give his update about the situation in New York, and he's been pushing this America First, I think he calls it, his Americans First law, which he says would refuse subsidies for any corporation that lays off employees and doesn't hire back the same number of employees that it had pre-pandemic. Does that make sense to you as a strategy? And what are businesses like yours thinking about taking any government funds and the strings that may be attached with them? So again, in terms of what the future of going to a restaurant looks like, is it unreasonable for Cuomo or others to expect that people should hire back to 100% of their pre-coronavirus workforce in order to get this relief money or to be able to keep it without repaying it?
Okay, first off, you know, I'm a fan of Mr. Cuomo's. And I think he's done a great job. But now he's in an area that he doesn't belong in. And he knows nothing about running businesses. And if you can't hire everybody back, okay, our business is not coming back for years, okay, to get back to where it is, at least through 20 and 21 and most likely 22, all the expert economists say. So to say that you can't get any money unless you hire everybody back, so what are they going to do? Okay, how are they going to promote up? How are they going to better their lives? They need if they can find a better opportunity somewhere else, but you're going to go penalize a company because they couldn't hire somebody back because they don't have the business anymore, it makes no sense whatsoever. And Kelly, ask me the second part of that question again.
No, I was basically just kind of elaborating on it. The other, you know, there's so much, Tilman, that we wanted to talk to you about in sports and different businesses and this and that. But one of the other things that people say when they hear you talking and sort of going on about business is, well, isn't Tilman the kind of guy who lives off a lot of credit? He's highly leveraged. You know, he'd be worse off than others. Talk a little bit about some of the business choices that you've made and whether you regret the debt and different choices have gotten you to this point. If you think that sets you apart from anybody else out there who is in these similar situations.
You know, not really. I mean, I chose to do business and own this company myself, and there's 2 ways to do it. You have equity partners or you take on more debt. I prefer to borrow debt and not have partners, okay? And my company's been very successful and been able to do whatever it wants to do. And a pandemic comes along that hurts my company, but yet we've always made good business decisions. It's just one way of growing a business. At the same time, could I go sell equity? Yes. You never know. I might go public again. I might go take on partners. The name of the game is to make your company survive, and that's what we're doing now. But everybody has different ways of growing their business, and that's the way I grew mine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Tilman, I know a lot of people, including evidently, based on reports, the president himself, are very interested in what the future. My son, if he were here right now, he'd say, ask Tilman about the NBA. I want to know when they're coming back. Will you finish the regular season? Will you go straight to the playoffs? And when? The president wants to know.
Well,
our viewers want to know. And Mac Matheson wants to know.
You sounded like Donald Trump there asking me that question like yesterday.
Oh, my heavens.
So Tyler, tell your son this, okay? We
Yep.
feel very comfortable as long as the experts continue to say things are getting better in America, the players want to play, and as long as this doesn't continue to grow and it continues to go the other way, the virus, I see the NBA playing. Everybody wants to play. America wants to see the NBA play, and I look forward to us playing games later this summer and playing some regular season games and, of course, having an NBA champion like the Houston Rockets.
Well, we wish you luck on that one. Tilman, thank you so much. We'd love to have you back. You can have some banana bread. We'll check in with you. We want to hear how it's going as you reopen around the country. Tilman Fertitta, as always, thank you.